Hey, it's Aaron, the Metal Theologian. So, yeah, so I've been listening to a lot of these fucking soda records, right? I've kind of been on this kick. And, a lot of these Swedish bands, I think I got this one from Fuzz Trip, too. I got a bunch of shit from them, and I kind of got it based on the strength of the covers, right? Because, well, let's just say I wasn't disappointed, right? But, some of these Swedish bands, like, oh, I didn't say this one, I always have to do that. So you can laugh about my pronunciation if it sucks. Rimstyrelsen. Yeah, Rimstyrelsen. That's what it sounds like. Space is Cold. That title was a winner too. Anyway, some of my favorite ones, like these guys, or this other band, fucking Yuri Gagarin. I've been playing the shit out of this one too. These kind of sound like some of these German bands, and I've said that before, but like, since I'm the newcomer to the stoner shit, but like, I know the old German shit pretty well, I figure if you watch this and you're like the Zonk Man, or you're like Grown Man Record Night, you know, Bananas specifically, but the other guys like it too, so I don't want to leave them out. I can reciprocate here with a couple of German bands that kind of sound like they're really cool stoner bands, okay? And then I also have a topic, so I'll just fucking warn you, this is going to be another one of those philosophical Metal Theologian videos. Let's get into new wave shit, but the way they specifically like sort of ride a groove like this towards the end really kind of reminds you of this Asherah temple, and specifically the long like Schwingungen on the second side. This is just a Spalax reissue, so I don't have the nice gatefold or anything. But people have talked about this record because people kind of know Asherah Temple, and I'll tell you, I'll just say it's easily their best record. Let me just say I think it's their best record. I think that Asherah Temple is a little bit overrated. I think they get a little bit boring and ponderous sometimes, but, you know, I've spent a lot of hours listening to their records, and really do think they're a pretty fantastic band. They're just not, like, the greatest, even though Klaus Schulze played with them on some of their records. Like, it's not as good as this one, man. Edge of Time by Dome. This is definitely kind of has a Pink Floyd vibe, so it's funny, because, like, I suppose what I'm saying is, like, continental Europeans interpreting Pink Floyd might lead to really good results. But, this is just a really cool psychedelic record, man. I love it when they have a German band name, but everything else in English, so, like, a dome is a cathedral. In German. Anyway, it's a great record. I don't know how hard this is to get now. Originals are going to be fucking expensive. This is a Second Battle reissue. As are these other ones, too. This is another really great one that's kind of like this. This sort of, you know, jam and rockin' style by My Solid Ground. Fucking love this record so much. So there's Second Battle. And by the way, these are all doubles. These ones that I'm showing, like, with an LP of bonus material. And that's the other way you can tell that I'm serious about these fucking bands, because if you watch my channel, you know I don't go for that shit. Like, I don't want all that extra shit. You know, released on a separate record, so if I'm, like, feeling really desperate for more, I can get it. I don't need an extra LP of bullshit. But for some of these records, I'll make an exception. And Dome is one, and My Solid Ground is one. And the other one I just want to bring up is actually a Swiss band, but they're sort of similar in style. That's Krokodil. Like crocodile. Again, German. But it's an invisible world revealed. And, I mean, just look at that fucking cover, right? Just great old sort of, you know, Krautrock, right? But it's, like, not the cosmic shit, like the Julian Cope shit, you know? And not like the Dusseldorf stuff that's, you know, like Kraftwerk and Neu and that shit. And not... Well, I guess you're getting warmer if you're starting to talk the Munich stuff. But, It's not the aspect of the scene that gets the most hype, you know what I mean? Like, there are all these different facets of, you know, Krautrock, you know, and there's the cosmic music, which was unique and wonderful and special, and I fucking love it, you know what I mean? But it's like, beyond that, people think like Canon, Faust, and shit like that, but there's this whole like sort of, you know, fusion band subgenre, and then these more like sort of psychedelic, like Pink Floyd-y type ones, then just like the hard rockers too, in addition to that. And they're all fucking great. I mean, there's some here and there that are kind of clunkers, you know, like some that went too into the comedy or the cabaret shit. And they're also, some of the bands managed to like suck in really interesting ways too, like Flo de Cologne, you know? I mean, those records are semi-unlistenable, but they're also really fascinating. I mean, I have like 4 or 5, and I've played them all and enjoyed them, so it's not like, you know, but it's not like, It's not something I can listen to every day, you know. Anyway, so there you go, my little contribution, man. Because I've been so into this fucking shit. But we're gonna talk about the new wave of British heavy metal a little bit, because I talked about it a little bit last time. Right? It's funny. I feel like this is sort of becoming like the point of the channel almost, you know. But I talked about that because I think it was because I was talking about the Explorer record, and it's like '84, and I think that's a little bit late for the new wave. I just sort of said in passing, you know. So I got a comment from Scott Waters saying, "How come you know, I tend to think of it as being like 79 to like 85 or so or something like that." So here's why. Okay, I mean, there's a really simple answer, but it's kind of, if you build it up a little bit more and think about it, I think you really get what I'm saying. So, if you think about that new wave British heavy metal sound, like the real shit, you know what I mean? Let me get some examples for this, because I actually busted out my 45s here, so I can sort of pull some as we go through, you know? You know, there's a real sort of rock and roll quality to it, right? It's like there are the bands that were like kind of rock and roll bands, like Vardis, you know, or you know, Spider or something like that for sure. But but even a band like you know, Tank has like that sort of a vibe too, you know. Now they're almost too Venomish. I think they sort of skirt the edge of like, when I think of new wave British heavy metal and that sound, you know what I mean? They're not in the center. They're like sort of over here. You know what I mean? Now, Venom is already outside that circle, which is part of the whole argument. You know what I mean? And Witchfinder General is sort of outside of it. That's why I kind of come down on the LPs, because it seems like the best LPs of the era, with very few exceptions, were by bands that really didn't embody that sound. You know what I mean? Like Fist made an LP, you know? They actually made 2 LPs, and they were, you know, pretty good. They weren't great, but they definitely had that sound, you know, but they're kind of an exception. All right, what are we going to go for? Here, this is probably a good one. Yeah, this is the Aurora single. There you go. No sleeve. And this definitely has that sound, and this is 1982, okay? So this is sort of the sound that I associate with these guys. I'm just going to bump it a little bit to the meat of the song so there's all this build-up. So you can like that riff or not like that riff, right? But fundamentally, it's built around a simple riff. It has a straightforward sound, and there's a real sort of directness to it. It's not quite, now this, the way it's written, it's a little more nuanced, at least what they're going for, right? Whether or not it's successful. They're going for a little bit more nuance, a little bit more of a surprising riff than what you might get out of, like, you know, Tank, or something like that, right? Or Vardis, you know what I mean? They built that little thing in there to be interesting too, but fundamentally, this is a really simple thing. It's built on a simple riff, it's a basic song structure, has sort of a working man's type of singer, who's, you know, very good, right? There's nothing wrong with this guy, but he's not like, you know, an Eric Adams, or for that matter, a Bruce Dickinson, you know? Now, I didn't quite pull this out at random, okay? I did sort of flip past a couple here. Like Angel Witch, I flipped past, okay? And I could make the argument around Angel Witch, but this is a little bit more clear, okay? This is the new wave of British heavy metal sound, you know what I mean? Here, let me give another example. And I'm really I'm making a big deal out of the sound thing here, because really my entire perspective on what the new wave of British heavy metal is kind of revolves around this, you know what I mean? That's like firmly in the center of the sound. Shit, I just thought of another one. Oh, here, this is a great one. Here, this is the Fox by Crucifixion. I think this one might get an ad put on my video, but fuck it. I've got a point to make here. Same deal, I'm just bumping it in a little bit. That's a great, like, riff, you know. And the singer's working really hard, you know? But that's really basic. That's what the new wave of British heavy metal sounds like. That's what I fell in love with, okay? Like back when I first, because I mean, I'll be honest, man, I like jumped on the hype bandwagon a couple years late. It was like 94, 95, but I got the fucking CD of that Lars comp, right? But I already knew that, I didn't know that Def Leppard song. I was like, wow, I didn't know they were ever this cool at the time. I knew Iron Maiden, I knew, you know, what, I had an idea what Venom sounded like and shit. You know, I didn't know Witchfinder General or anything like that yet. But this is the sound. This right here, you know what I mean? And even on that comp, you hear it like in Parallax, you hear it in Sledgehammer. That's like the center, that's what it's about. And this is the thing, and this is the shit too. This is sort of stripped down. You can hear the punk rock influence on this, not because this sounds like punk in any way, but because it's sort of stripped of all the bullshit that sort of went along. Like with the harder shit that was like glammed up in some way or another, like, you know, a Kiss or something like that. You know, Kiss is actually a great example because they were all about image and over the top, and this was kind of like that, but stripping all that shit away down to its very basics, you know. So like the punk guys did that and they made punk, and the metal guys did that and they got metal, you know. So anyway, that is the new wave of British heavy metal. That's why it was a new wave, right? So what happened in 1982? This is what happened in 1982. I'm not going to sit here and say this is like the first like modern, fully realized heavy metal album, okay? Like the first album that defined what the sound was going to be in the 80s. If I were going to pick one record for that, I'd probably say it would be Stained Class anyway, okay? But this came out in 82 and it was huge. And if this came out in 82 and it was huge, yeah, you can talk about how Run to the Hills kind of has some of that new wave aesthetic, but this is not a new wave of British heavy metal record. The singer is way too powerful. That gallop is like a modern sound. The twin guitar is fully integrated and it's like a part of like what all the subsequent metal bands copied, you know what I mean? And then if you want to go further, okay, because, you know, this came out in 83. Okay, same deal. It wasn't maybe the first speed metal record, maybe not your favorite, but this was huge, and it came out in fucking 83. So, 1984 comes rolling around, and fuck, where the fuck is it? Here it is. And oh shit, I have too many of these things. Okay, and Trident puts out this fucking record, right? This is one of my favorite of the era. The Destiny single by Trident. And this sure looks like a gem of a new wave of British heavy metal, doesn't it? No picture sleeve, especially this copy with the autographs. I mean, that like does it. But in 1984, this is a great single, but in 1984, it wasn't the new wave of British fucking anything. You know? It was a reaction, it was a leftover, it was a hang-up. I fucking love this record. I really do. Like, this is one of the ones, and frankly, I might not have ever come across this record if I hadn't seen it on new wave of British heavy metal lists. Okay? So here I'm saying this. I put my stake in the ground in 1982, and pretty much like arguably to 1983. You still got Dragon Slayer in 83, and you know it took a little while for Kill 'Em All to really catch on, but 84 is definitely not new wave anymore as far as I'm concerned. Here, I'll throw this on for a minute because this is fucking fantastic. It has nothing to do with the quality or anything else. It's just that it represents a sound that I almost said that it had run its course. I don't think it did run its course. Clearly it hadn't. I mean, the fact is, this does sound a little bit more epic. Like, it's starting to take that in. And there were other bands like that, too, like Tyrant from Britain. They kind of had that. But that was sort of almost by accident, I think. You know, I'm not going to put too much on that. The point is just, this doesn't really sound like 79. But it sounds closer to 79 than it does to 84, right? In 1980, this is fresh. This is a new wave. In 84, it's a great single, but that's all it is. So what do you think? I'm so tempted to say, tell me what you think in the comments, like the big, like, Tool YouTubers do. But let me tell you, tell me what you think in the comments. But I'll actually respond to your comments first off if you want to engage you on some of this. But this is why I'm putting my stake in the ground in 82. Okay? So, because this comes up periodically. It's funny because it's been coming up with Alan over at Let's Talk Metal for a while, on and off. It's come up with Scott Waters more than once, and I think it's come up with Steve, Harmless Rebel, and I'm sure it came up with Garino and LJ before that even. So this is sort of an argument I've been making, but this is the first time I've really sat down and like formulated it in a video, like put it forth. So you can tell me if you think I'm full of shit, but I think you probably see my case regardless of whether you agree with it or not. So. And that's today's graduate seminar at, what is it? Not metal school, but I don't want to say metal grad school because I just said that. So, okay, that joke fell apart on me. Fuck it, you know what I mean? You win some, you lose some. This rules, doesn't it? I pulled this one out to talk about last time, where I was talking about albums, but I don't know. Forgot to show for some reason or another, I think. But fuck it, there you go. You've seen it again. Yeah, I've mostly been seeing shit like this. Here's another record actually I've been playing a lot. So sort of going back to the stoner shit because I've been so hung up on that. This record I got like several months ago with a few other things. I put it on once or twice and thought it was cool, but didn't think much of it. Well, I just pulled it out again like a few days ago, and I swear I've been playing it every fucking day. This record is so good. Because you know, this is exactly what I want from this shit. It sounds like some guys who were like really into like that old shit, that 70s shit that this is kind of based on, but it doesn't sound like a 70s record. It doesn't sound like a rehash, you know what I mean? And the songs are just really fucking good, and the spacey parts are psychedelic in just the right way, and it's just an awesome fucking record across the board. Gypsy Bird, kind of a stupid name, I guess, although the logo is kind of hard to argue with, you know, if you're a desert rocker and shit. It's on Made of Stone Recordings. That's right, man. Hell yeah. I already showed the Yuri Gagarin record. Oh, there's another one I bought just because of the name. Fucking Gas Giant. I love that so much. How can you not want to hear a band called Gas Giant? It's great. It's psychedelic. It's not quite as deeply rooted in the 70s as those other ones. It's a little bit more sort of purely spacey and less space rock, you know what I mean? But not in the sort of psychedelic way that the record we were listening to was, in a more sort of modern wave metal. It's a little hard to describe, but I really like this record. It's not an all-time favorite, but I really like it. And dude, they're called Gas Giant. That's like the ultimate like stoner band name. I don't even like that cover very much. Like, I wish you could take that name and put it on this cover. This is a pretty cool one too, man. This one's a lot more sort of in the metallic direction. And I'm not holding out on you this time. I don't remember what the band is called. It says Gateway to Hell, but I don't think that's the band name. Clovers. Yeah, I don't remember if Gateway to Hell is the name of the band or the name of the album. Yeah, Gateway to Hell must be the band. Because there's a song called Clovers. I'm going to assume that's not their signature song. It's a pretty awesome cover, isn't it? Doesn't quite live up to that cover, honestly. But it's pretty great. Here, I'll bust out one more 45. Wow. Trying to think of another one that I had gotten. Oh yeah, here's one I don't think I've talked about before. This is one of those that sort of has a reputation, you know? I don't have a copy of the sleeve, but this fucking on Speed Records. Yeah, Man on the Street. And this is the record where they sort of borrowed Bruce Dickinson as a singer. And obviously I like Bruce Dickinson just fine. I mean, it's hard to be a metal fan and not like that style, right? But I'm always surprised by how good like just sort of a rock and roll singer Bruce has it to be, you know? Like on this record, Because this is almost like... It's almost like an Ian Gillan type of delivery on this, you know? Like, 84, Ian Gillan and Bruce Dickinson don't sound alike. But the delivery on a song like this is kind of similar. But I think this single kind of slaps. You know? It's not the greatest thing of all time. I wouldn't say go out and spend hundreds of dollars on it. Yeah, but it's a fun record. It doesn't seem to get shown all that much. I don't think there are that many out there, but I'm sure there's more than a lot of things, you know? It's early enough that he was still Bruce. But yeah, Speed. I think we're going to cut it off. It hasn't even been a full week since that last video, so I'm spoiling y'all anyway. Alright, seriously, thanks for watching. I always appreciate it. And, until next time.